Chelsea here, honored to be speaking with the legendary Yngwie Malmsteen. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, how you doing?
Very excited to talk with you about your brand new release, Tokyo Live. And it's exactly what it sounds like, a live album of one special night of your 40th anniversary Japan tour last year. So, to get things started, I'd love to start off talking about your experience on the Japan tour and what you feel made this particular concert the one to capture for your live album.
It's a great question. It's kind of a coincidence, really, because I did an album called Parabellum a couple of years ago, and I was on tour with it for forever. I just toured around the world, toured. So 22, 23, 24 comes around, and someone says, "Hey, do you know that it's 40 years since your first started your solo career?" Basically, so I signed my first solo deal in January 1984. So everything I've been recording since then has been solo albums. Oh yeah, let's call it that then. So I'm touring Europe, I'm touring Australia, I'm touring, all over the world, right? And I come to Japan, and the Japanese promoters go, "We want to record and film the show." I'm like, okay, but only if I get to control the audio and see the footage and see if it's good enough. And it's meant to be Japan only, right? So I get the tapes and the video and the audio, and I mix the sound in my studio, and I go, "Wow, this is really good. I'm gonna put it out around the world." So that's how it happened. It could have been recorded in Bulgaria or Turkey or something, or Sweden or America, or wherever. It could have been recorded, but it was Tokyo, and in a funny way, that's kind of appropriate because it's sort of a full circle kind of thing. Because my first solo deal was in January 1984 in Japan as well. So
That's great. Yeah, definitely a
yes,
full circle moment. I love that. And, wherever it happened to land in the world, it lined up very nicely. You have an excellent
yeah,
album here. And I'd also like
thank
to
you.
ask you about your band lineup that you took along with you for your 40th anniversary tour that led to Tokyo Live.
Yeah, it's not always the same guys, but funnily enough, on this particular tour, I had six different drummers.
Oh, wow.
Uh, yeah, so it's like spelt up, like I have to change the drummers all the time. But anyways, so we have Emilio Martinez on bass, Nick Marinovich on keyboards, and Kevin Klingenschmidt on drums. But they changed a little bit since then. But they're the guys on that recording, and they're all good, really good.
Definitely. And you have such a great balance between the classical touch and the metal on this set list. You have tracks like a fugue, a toccata, adagio to tracks like Rising Force and Soldier and Top Down, Foot Down. So could you share some of your thought process of building this set list and how you narrowed down what made the cut?
It's a great question because every night is a different set list.
Ah, okay.
I don't like to do the same set list because if you do, for instance, I just did 9 weeks straight, 6 nights a week in America, right? I've been doing a lot of touring now, and I don't like to do the same set list every night because it's not a challenge to me. Then not only that, but also I like to improvise all the solos and everything like this. So what I do is about an hour before the show, I kind of like put a set list together that's different from the night before, right? And I tell them to print it out, so now it's printed all over the stage. Everybody has the same set list everywhere. And we go on stage, and I end up playing a different set list than was on the floor anyway.
Ah,
So it's never the same. Never. The only thing
that's
I did is specifically for this tour. I put one song called Hiroshima more on it that I haven't done on the other ones, because this is sort of dedication to the Japanese kind of.
That's a great touch that I'm sure was definitely appreciated by the audience that night. But
Yeah.
that's fun. It feels like you're always throwing curveballs at your band that way then, because you
Oh
say, "Okay,
yeah.
guys, here's the set list," and then go somewhere completely different with it.
They gotta be on their toes, like you have no idea. And I kind of conduct the starts and finishes of like this, with my hands and my guitar neck and everything. They have to know all little signs.
Yes, that's great. Well, I mean, that's good. Communication is important, and you guys definitely
Yeah,
pull it off beautifully. Another thing I love
thank
about
you.
this album is the acoustic medley. I feel like you and your keyboardist had such a great balance throughout the album, but it really stands out in this track. I love that you're perfectly in sync. We get a little harpsichord tones and a little Baroque style going, which
Yeah.
is beautiful and impressive. Can you share your thoughts on the acoustic cadenza track?
Yeah, it's I always do. I used to do two acoustic cadenzas a night, but then I narrowed it down to one because it's more effective. And it's basically sort of like the beginning of the encore. And it's never really quite the same. I do a fugue, and I do a paraphrase. I do like air. I do a lot of different things I throw in there, and the keyboard player just has to follow. but it's always interesting to. It's a little bit different sound in the hall. It's a lot of things that play a role on what I want to end up playing on the acoustic, because it's not they have great sound in Japan, so that you can't blame anything on that. But sometimes when you play other places, it's a little dry, maybe not so much echo, and you play little different things and stuff. But it's all about the feeling of the moment.
Absolutely. And that's what's really great about any show that you perform is just that, there's a sense of improvisation, but it's just very natural. It doesn't feel like it's off the cuff or, anything crazy. It feels like you planned it. It feels like very natural the way that you
Yeah,
perform.
that's great. Thank you so much, because nothing was planned.
Exactly.
That the only plan I have is to improvise something that sounds planned, but it's not.
There you go.
Because
It works.
yeah, it's certain rules you have to follow, but it's always a challenge. It's always fun too, but you don't really quite sure what you're gonna do. You go on.
Definitely. And it comes through as well, that energy that you're just really having fun with it. It's very natural to you and you have fun with it. And I love that you encourage so many people to pick up the guitar and have fun with it as well. I saw a quote from you saying music and playing the guitar is not a competition. And that's such an important statement because so many people, especially with social media about the trending videos and fast, crazy players, so many people seem to think that it is a competition and just becomes a speed shredding competition. And I love that you give such a good message of keeping true to the music. Do you have any thoughts to share on that?
Yeah, no, it's spot on there. It's music is not a sport. For some reason. It's a funny thing though, because it's not unique to this era. Because in the early 1800s, there was a period called the virtuoso era, and Niccolo Paganini and Franz Liszt and some other, mostly pianists, virtuosos, Chopin and stuff. They were sort of like in a competition, which is weird also. And then of course, in rock and roll era, it's always been the guitar player. Always, it's always been like that, and I don't really understand that, because I don't take part in that. I just do what I do. You know what I mean?
And definitely, yes. It's funny you mentioned Franz Liszt because I studied music as well, and one of the things that always stuck with me from the music history classes was that Franz Liszt was essentially the original rock star because he had like a
Yeah.
groupie-esque following that always
Well,
followed him
yeah,
around and stuff, and it
yeah, but you should read up on Niccolo Paganini. He was even worse. He was like he was the rock star. He was nutty. Liszt and Paganini, they're pretty much they're definitely the pioneers in that.
definitely, yeah, kind of on the same level for sure. And you've
Yeah.
cited a great deal of classical influences over your history musician, from Paganini, of course, to, Vivaldi. And I really connect to your nod to Bach in songwriting. Bach's counterpoint is a big part of learning composition and the chorales for learning vocals. And I'd love if you could just speak more specifically on how you took those studies and incorporated them into your own songwriting.
Well, it was a long, long process. I actually wrote a book on it called Relentless. Um, it's basically I grew up in a very musical family, opera singers and classical musicians, and I was the youngest. And when I was 5, I got my first guitar. I didn't really play, and then I took trumpet and piano and violin and all this stuff. And when I saw Hendrix smashing up a guitar, I said, "That's what I want to do." So I took the guitar off the wall and started playing that moment. And obviously, the first thing I learned to play was the blues and rock and stuff like this, which is the pentatonic 5 notes per octave things. And I started feeling there was a little bit, there's got to be something else to this, because I was playing like 24/7. And again, I'm 7 years old, very, very young. But everybody in my family, they would do either, if they were practicing scales on us vocals, they would be on the piano or the violin or something. And I would hear more, I just want to say, natural minors and stuff like this in these things. And then eventually I heard a band called Genesis when I was 10 years old, 9 or 10. And that band became a pop band later, but in those early days, they were actually extremely sort of like a prog band, kind of. And the keyboard player in that band, he would play all these pedal notes and diminished, the suspended chords and stuff. Like, oh, I like this stuff. So I was intrigued by that, and I realized everything that I liked about what he did was Johann Sebastian Bach, essentially. So my mother had hundreds of Bach and Vivaldi and Mozart records. So I started listening to them, and I gravitated to Vivaldi and Bach. And having been already a guitar player, I love the sound of the Marshall stacks, and I like double bass drums and smoke machines and all that stuff. So I just want to incorporate some of the classical vocabulary. I'm not saying verbatim. I'm talking about the thought pattern really more of a composer. Um, speaking of counterpoint and pedal notes, and it's been diminished and inversions and also those things that you can do with a hard sound, and that started really early on, and it became my thing, you know.
And you do it well. And I think that those origins definitely show through because it always feels like there is a reason and a purpose in the lines and phrases you write, and even when you're improvising and playing. And that's the difference between true musicality versus kind of shredding for the sake of shredding, you know?
Yeah, I always kind of like felt that even if he plays fast, something fast, it should be melodic, you know. To quote Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, he said, "Music is melody, and melody is music." Yeah, it's very important because to play repetitious, fast stuff, that's one thing, but it has to have melodic quality, no matter what. Vibrato is extremely important as well. The vibrato and the expression of notes, one must not forget that.
Exactly. Yes, it's all composition elements that you include in there, which, can tend to be forgotten in the hard rock and metal world once in a while. So
Yeah,
it's definitely appreciated that you do that. And I love that you mentioned early Genesis as well. I've always appreciated it, and I feel like it can be overlooked sometimes because people focus a little more on later Genesis when it was kind of the radio pop hits, but that
yeah,
early progressive records, I mean, Nursery Crime was one of the coolest records I think they've come up with. The musical box, that was extremely kind of a little bit off the wall progressive, but had that really fundamental composition element to it that you were
yeah.
just saying. And it was
The
really
the
cool era of that
the
band.
first the first one I heard was "Selling England by the Pound."
Ah, yes, that
and
one
and, and,
too.
and that one, it was just, it knocked me out. And then I had a Foxtrot and Nurse of Crime and all those. I also like the ELP, Emerson Lake Palmer. I like them a lot. So it wasn't guitar playing really that I was listening to. It was the music. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
it's Emerson Lake Palmer didn't even have a guitar player even. So
Right. No, that's the thing. I mean, prog rock has always kind of had a similar philosophy of, taking those classical elements and it's not copying it. It's just kind of being inspired by it and keeping those fundamental composition, songwriting philosophies and translating into rock music, which is super cool.
yes,
Now, the first song I ever heard from you actually was I'll See the Light Tonight. And the first time I ever heard you in that song, I was utterly blown away by everything about it. The riffs, the melodies, harmonies, it was instantly stuck in my head for days. And I love that you close out the Tokyo Live album with this amazing track too. So I know that I love it, but what do you think makes this song so special that it resonates with so many people?
well, I mean, it's so funny you should say that because uh, I wrote that song. How long is the song? 4 minutes.
Just about.
Yeah, it took me 4 minutes to write it.
Ah, there we go.
That one was done in one go. Yeah, the song was finished the first time I played it. It's really funny because it's very simplistic, but it's to the point, and you know, it's a good one. Yeah, I like it.
Sometimes the things that just flow out naturally and easily and ends up being the best thing ever. And you don't even expect it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's great. I'd also like to go back a few years to when you did Generation Axe. That was such an amazing concept and just so much fun to watch you all showcasing your different styles and talents all coming together. So I'm curious, can you talk to me about what a rehearsal or even a performance for Generation Axe was like since you had so many different contrasting guitarists all bringing your own personal touch to the same songs?
Yeah, it was me and Steve. I go way back. I've known him since '84, actually. When I left Alcatraz, he joined Alcatraz. So we've been friends for a long time. And he calls me up, I think it was 2015 or something, 16, I can't remember now. And he calls me up, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. I really want you to do it." I'm like, "Yeah, we did G3, but you want to do G5? What's this? This is crazy. There's so many guitar players." "Yeah, but we gotta do it differently. We gotta do it." Okay. So, I was curious, and I didn't think no. I just was going like, "What? This is gonna be, how the hell are we gonna do this?" G3 was tough enough. So we started rehearsals, and I thought it was gonna be like, we play our sets and then we play together at the end. But no, we gotta play together in the beginning. I'm like, "What? This is crazy." So we decided we got to play one song together, and then Tosin go on, and Nuno and Zach and Steven and I went on. I do my thing, But in this, you had to be more structured. It had to be a lot more structured. And which I didn't mind really. I mean, I play with symphonies after all. But the thing is that it was a little bit of a learning curve, but it was great. I had a great time. Really, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was fun all around. I feel like you guys definitely had a great time with each other. The audience had a great time just experiencing all these different amazing guitarists in one. So that was definitely a cool concept, and I'm glad
Yeah,
you were a part of that.
me too.
That's great. Of course, you mentioned playing with symphonies as well. I'm curious about that contrast, or do you feel like it's very similar or very different when you're playing with the band versus playing with the symphony?
It's extremely different. Yeah. Did you know, if you know classical music, there's something called rubato. Rubato means it's not, it's time, but it's fluid time. And then you have what's even more important in the concerto setting, it's called con la parte, which means follow a soloist. When you have a 96-piece orchestra, if I make an inflection and I'm playing a little bit, around there's a little bit of a loose time, rubato, so to speak. The conductor's job is to look at me and kind of like translate what I'm doing to all these people playing the part with me. It's an extraordinary experience when you play with a good symphony orchestra, and I play with a few. And the conductor, what he does is just outstanding. But yeah, no, it's what I did when I did my classical stuff. I did completely different from anyone else I've heard of anyway, because everybody that uses classical orchestra, they just put their song, they play their song with the drummer and everything, and they put the orchestra with it, which is great. But I didn't do that. I composed and performed as if I was 18th century concerto, basically. It was a very, as classically influenced I am and stuff like that. I definitely had to adapt to that, because it was, even though the conductor was keeping the orchestra in tune, I couldn't help but feel, like, you got to connect with them somehow too. And it was so weird because it's like controlling an elephant or something. How do you do this? It's too big. What is this stuff? But it worked out great. I loved it.
Absolutely. No, it's a lot of pressure on both you and the conductor to kind of non-verbal communication in a way,
Oh
just,
no, it's
getting that.
all like it's a vibe thing.
Especially such a huge machine as an almost 100-piece orchestra. It's different than, if you had a little chamber, ensemble going on, that'd be different. But this is a massive
And
machine,
and,
so
and, and a 60-piece choir as well.
oh, crazy. But you pulled it off and did an amazing
Yeah,
job, so
it
that's
was
really
amazing.
fun.
Thank you.
I also want to ask, going back to Tokyo Live, you've also released this Music Theories recordings, and that's not your first release with this label. So do you feel they bring something special to the table that's helping you to stick with them?
Yeah, we have a good thing going. It's I think it's a third record now. I believe it's a third. Yeah, third or fourth. I can't remember. but yeah. So it's a good thing. They know exactly what I'm about. They just let me do what I do, and then that's it. There's no interference. It's good.
And of course, we've spoken about the existing music you have out now, but looking towards the future, what is the next step you're thinking of lining up? Do you feel more focused on touring or thinking about writing new music right now?
I'm doing both. I'm writing. I'm in the studio now. Actually, not the second, but I will be, and I have tours coming up as well. So I'm doing both, which
Nice.
is what I've done lately. Anyways, it's not like it used to be a cycle. You do an album, tour album. It's basically you tour all the time, and you go in and record when you feel like it, which I do. Because I have the luxury of owning my own place.
That definitely helps for sure. It's like whenever the
Yeah,
whim hits you, just hop on in there and get to
that
work.
that's exactly right.
Do you feel like you have certain habits when it comes to composing? Any kind of go-to techniques to get you in the zone in writing, or does it just vary depending on
It
the
it
day?
is it is as varied as anything, because it could be coming from any sort of source, and or from nowhere. I mean, I could be I get a melody in my head basically, and or I could there's a lyric, or there's a melody that I sing when I'm playing a couple of chords on the guitar. It's all different. It never is the same way. So
As varied as your set lists when you are on the fly there, right?
Yeah, I guess.
That's amazing. And it's great to just get any kind of insight into your amazing composing and writing and playing techniques and everything that you've created quite a legacy of music. And I'm glad to hear that you're keeping on going because you are making some wonderful things out there. It has been such a rare honor to speak with you, and I greatly appreciate your time. So to close out our conversation, would you mind sharing a quick message to your fans and admirers who are listening?
Well, I have to take a double. I get freaked out, not freaked out, but I get like, wow, has it been that long already? So I thank everybody that's been sticking with me, and I'm still going, and hopefully you guys can hang out with my new stuff and enjoy the new record.
Thank you again so much for your time. This has been wonderful. Tack so mycket. I hope I said it right.
Yes, yes, thank
Yes,
you very
thank you
much.
so much. Wonderful to speak with you.
All
Enjoy the
right,
rest of your day. Best of luck with touring, and I will continue to enjoy Tokyo Live and anything else you come out with. Thank you again.
thank you so much. Bye bye.